Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Let's welcome to the stage NLC's second Vice President and Vice Mayor for Tempe, Arizona, Doreen Garlid.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our closing general session today, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you're all enjoying your lunch, and we have a jam-packed program for you, so we're going to jump right in. So please allow me to introduce our opening speaker for this session, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. He began his career as a clerk in the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals for Justice Richard Neely. He served as Rhode Island United States Attorney and was elected to the state's Attorney General in 1998. In 2006, he was elected to the U.S. Senate and currently serves as the ranking member of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. And in that role, Senator Whitehouse is developing the next surface transportation, drinking water, and wastewater infrastructure reauthorization bills, which are key priorities for local leaders as well as the Water Resources Development Act. He is seeking to ensure we continue to invest in our nation's infrastructure while addressing key challenges like improving safety and building resilience to climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.
Thank you, Doreen, and I think you won the Green Award. Well done. I am delighted to be with all of you. I work frequently with the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and Randy Rossi, who is here, and Mayor Bob DeSilva from East Providence, who is the chairman. So it's great to see the whole national organization here. I'm going to touch on some of the bills that we're working on in the Environment Public Works Committee and give you a little update on that, and then a little preview of coming climate attractions. So the first is the WRDA bill, which funds the Army Corps projects that many of you work with. I would say that we are in early stages on that. We are talking back and forth, Democrats and Republicans, in the Environment Public Works Committee. I would add that as a general point, Chairman Capito is very good to work with. We have a very good relationship, and we're hoping to get the WRDA bill for the Army Corps, the highway bill, the Surface Transportation Act, and permitting reform all done in this year. So it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of goodwill, and she is showing that goodwill. So doesn't mean that we are without problems, but I think we're making good progress on the WRDA bill. The highway bill is a little bit more complicated, and surface transportation requires multiple committees. And what we have started doing in the Environment Public Works Committee is negotiating our part of the bill as if we knew what the top line numbers would ultimately be, so that we've worked our way through a bunch of the issues, and then we can adjust if our predicted top line doesn't end up being the top line. So we've already started working, but it's a leadership decision across multiple committees what the surface transportation authorization top line should be. We're just not going to wait for that. We're already doing our bit. The third bill that we're looking at is permitting reform. As you may have heard, Senator Heinrich, who's the lead Democrat on the Energy Committee, and I agreed to pause the negotiations on a permitting reform bill when the Trump administration's behavior became intolerable with respect to solar and offshore wind. So we paused, and I will tell you that the Republicans in the Senate were actually quite sympathetic and helpful. This was not a Republicans versus Democrats fight. This was a legislative branch versus executive branch fight, and I'm grateful for the support and sympathy that Leader Thune and Whip Barrasso and Chair Capito showed. The result has been a change in behavior in the executive branch, and based on that change and an expression of trust, we are now back to work. We are negotiating the permitting reform bill. I emphasize the pause because if the kind of mischief that undid our permitting reform negotiations leaks into the Department of Transportation or leaks into the Army Corps, you could see a similar pause in the negotiation of those bills. I will say that Secretary Duffy has been good to work with. I do not see big problems on the horizon there, and so this is just precautionary at this point. With respect to the Army Corps, the decision of the OMB, of Russell Vogt, to block $12 billion in Army Corps funding that went to blue states, explicitly because we are blue states and didn't vote the way the OMB wanted us to on a measure before the Senate, that's pretty unprecedented. And we've had some conversation with the Army Corps leadership about why they would go along with that, it being the Army Corps of Engineers, not the this administration Corps of Engineers. And so we'll see how that turns out. But I just want to make sure everybody's aware that if the behavior gets bad, the way it did with respect to clean energy, then we could be in pause mode, but I hope not. We, again, are committed to trying to get all three of those bills done. The last thing that I'll mention, because I think it's coming at you, and because I put a lot of work into this when I was the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, is what is happening with climate risk and how climate risk through wildfires out west and through coastal flooding along the Gulf Coast and up our Atlantic coast is doing to insurance markets. A lot of insurance markets are in real meltdown. Homeowners insurance prices are going through the roof. In many cases, homeowners can't get insurance. Their insurer has non-renewed them. Their insurer has left the state. And when they find new insurance, the coverage is worse and the cost is higher. And we are seeing what looks like the beginning of a full collapse in home insurance markets in high climate risk areas. The problem with that, in addition to the immediacy of how that hurts families' budgets, the problem with that is that when you have a home insurance collapse, that cascades into the mortgage market, because you can't get a mortgage on a piece of property that is uninsurable. So unless you're dealing with Palm Beach billionaires who are swapping houses for cash, that then knocks down property values. And the chief economist for our big mortgage company, Freddie Mac, has warned that this cascade from climate risk into insurance collapse, into mortgage collapse, into property values crash, risks kicking off another 2008-style economic recession. For those of you who were working in municipalities in 2008, you know that is not a good thing. But it is a real danger, and that prediction from Freddie Mac was based entirely on a crash in coastal property values. It did not at all consider the emerging wildfire risk that Western states have seen so clearly. So that is out there. And in one of the hearings in the Budget Committee, we had a session on what that means for municipalities. Because it means a lot for municipalities. It means in many cases that those companies that are doing your credit ratings are going to start looking at climate risk and asking questions about climate risk. We're starting to see that with Rhode Island coastal municipalities already. In some areas, you will see property values decline because of this risk. And when those property values decline, so does your tax base. In coastal communities, very often the coastal properties are the most valuable. So a decline there takes a real bite out of municipal revenues. At the same time that those revenues are being compromised, expenditures go up because of the actual day-to-day climate harms and pipes and roads and things that need to be repaired. So between the rating problem and then the revenue versus expenditure problem, this can climb into municipal budgets in a very serious way. In many cases, there are special situations. There's a road that needs to be maintained because it's how one part of the community connects to where the hospitals and the services are. And so you need to be alert to those. And my alert to you there is you may not trust FEMA mapping. FEMA's mapping is demonstrably inadequate and inaccurate, so please make sure that you have access to professional quality flood mapping, and groups like First Street and others. There are lots of places to do it, but I'll tell you, the big banks, the big real estate companies, the big private equity companies, they are all investing in better mapping in order to get the jump on everybody else who is still depending on old, bad FEMA maps. So you really need to prepare for this. And then, of course, at the end of the day, if the chief economist of Freddie Mac is right, we're headed for a 2008-style recession, and that has its own set of miseries for you and for your constituents. So I'm going to work with Irma and your team here to make sure that she posts in today's news the summary that we have generated of these warnings, which come from Economist Magazine, International Financial Stability Board, Economist, the Freddie Mac, the Mortgage Bankers Association, the former chief risk manager of Goldman Sachs. They are widespread, and you should be aware of them. So I very much look forward to working with you on those three bills. We hope we can make real progress. It is our bipartisan intention to get all three of them done and have all three of them be big and successful. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Senator Whitehouse. Next, I want to offer a special thanks to CGI Digital for sponsoring this year's Passport to Prizes program. This year's winner will receive a premier videography package valued at $9,000. And the winner is, a little drum roll, do we get a drum roll? Ricos, there you go, Ricos Adams, mayor from Killeen, Texas. Are you in the room? All right, please join me in congratulating Killeen, Texas. All right. Now we've got a fantastic panel discussion ready for you today. Joining me on stage for a congressional conversation are California U.S. Representative Salud Carbajal and Arizona U.S. Representative Greg Stanton. We're going to be, thank you. We're going to hear all about how our guests are prioritizing working across party lines in this Congress to get things done for our residents. So please put your hands together for our local leaders in Congress conversation. Grab a water there. All right. Good afternoon, Representative Carbajal and Representative Stanton. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy days to be with us here today. And today, we're here to talk about the leadership that you are demonstrating in Congress. For everyone in this audience, thanks you for your commitment to finding solutions for your residents because that's what we, the cities, do, local governments deliver every day. And today, today we're going to talk about how we can partner to get this important work done. And one last thing, today we are lucky to be recording this segment for our podcast, City Speaks. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, thank you so much for joining me. And as the nation's local leaders here in this room, and as they get ready to head to the Hill tomorrow to advocate for priorities that matter most to their communities, we thank you for your leadership in strengthening the federal-local partnership. So I have some questions here on my card for you, and I'm going to start with both of you. Both of you worked with the NLC to help address issues important to cities and towns. At the local level, we have to be pragmatic about solving the immediate, on-the-ground issues. How do you build support for local government priorities in Congress?
Go first? Okay, well, first, I just want to say it's an honor to be back here at NLC. You know, I'm a recovering city council member and a recovering mayor of the city of Phoenix. And I am the luckiest member in Congress because Doreen Garlid is the leader of one of the cities in my district, so it's an awesome to see you in this capacity, doing so well at a national level, but she is an awesome local leader in my district. Look, we're lucky to have lots of former local elected officials serving in Congress. By the way, I hope many of you will be thinking about running for Congress because it's important that we have as many people with local experience, practical problem solvers, people that are used to working with everyone on your city council to get things done regardless of your political party. I know this was originally intended to be a bipartisan discussion. Our Republican friends, I guess, got stuck on flights and weren't able to make it, so it's a bummer they weren't able to be here. But you know, you naturally work in a bipartisan way, and that's the experience that you bring. And I think those of us that have local government experience are just used to working in that environment. Of course, we feel strongly about the issues that we care passionately about. Some of them happen to be partisan, but when it comes to getting things done, making sure that the cities have support for infrastructure projects, transportation projects, water, sewer, the other parks and recreation, roads and bridges, things that we care about, public transportation. You know, you're the ones that make the case when you come here to Washington. It's our job to make sure that the rest of the members of Congress understand that. But the issues you work on are very important and they're very popular. So I would argue that it's a relatively easy sell among our colleagues in Congress.
Well, thank you, Mayor Garlid, for inviting us here today. I too served in local government. I served on the County Board of Supervisors for 12 years in Santa Barbara County. And just for the record, the supervisor was here on time, the mayor was a tad late. And our two Republican colleagues that couldn't come here today, they're really exceptional individuals. They're people we work with closely, they're great individuals. But just to give them a little jab, the Democrats showed up, our Republican colleagues did it. So I'm gonna give them a hard time about that. But you know, having served in local government, as Greg said, the rubber hits the road in local government. We know the ins and outs. We have the finger on the pulse. We know what our constituencies are experiencing and seeing every day. And to bring that experience here to Congress is absolutely fundamentally important. And I do hope that many of you out there consider running someday in the future for Congress, because the more voices that we have in Congress with experience in local government, the better we'll be as a nation. When it comes down to funding all the different infrastructure, all the needs that we have as cities and counties, it's fundamentally important. What's the one word that local government hates? Unfunded mandates. And we're always mindful of that in our work each and every day when we consider legislation. But thank you so much for including us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So Congressman Carbajal, this one's for you. You were part of the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is built on forging bipartisan consensus on common sense solutions to the challenges facing our nation today. How does the caucus do that?
Well, first of all, the caucus is made up of about 60 plus individuals, half Republicans, half Democrats. And look, we don't come together with the expectation that we're gonna agree on everything, because we don't. But what we do is try to build trust and relationships and try to find areas where we do agree, and work really hard to try to come up with pragmatic, bipartisan solutions that we could move forward. The bipartisan infrastructure law is an example. That's something that we worked on as a caucus diligently. And a lot of what ended up in the final bill came from the Problem Solvers Caucus. And it's I think, a great forum here in Congress when you consider all the gridlock and all the bickering to be able to work together in a bipartisan way to build those relationships. And not just what you see on TV, but to see people that not just interested in the limelight, but working together like we did in local government, like you all do in your respective roles.
I appreciate that. And it's not on the question here, but one of the other congressmen that wasn't able to make it here, you traveled to his community. Can you tell me what that was like?
Yes, Representative Bacon and I, he's from Nebraska, I'm from Santa Barbara, California. We traveled to each other's districts as part of the Bipartisan Policy Center program. And that was extremely insightful to, one, continue to build our relationships, to see firsthand the commonalities and the differences that our districts have, the various challenges and the needs, to be able to have that perspective when we come across legislation or in moving forward legislation, to try to find common ground. And so that experience was absolutely a great experience on so many levels. And Representative Bacon is my best friend on the other side of the aisle. He and I have traveled to a number of countries throughout the world as part of our oversight duties, and we have worked together on a number of pieces of legislation. And he's just been an extraordinary partner.
Who's your best friend on the same side of the aisle?
Not you. Stanton, Greg Stanton is one of my best friends on the Democrat side of the aisle.
I want to add,
but let me just say, Greg's an extraordinary leader. We both belong to the New Democrat Coalition, which is the largest caucus in the Democratic caucus, or coalition in the Democratic caucus, working to find pragmatic solutions. And Greg certainly has been a great leader with me and our leadership on moving priorities forward that are pragmatic and bipartisan oftentimes.
And Salud is one of the most bipartisan members in the entire Congress. He does that both on policy, but he's a lot of fun to serve with. You can see we love him. And he takes relationships seriously. He builds real relationships both among his colleagues and across the aisle. That makes the experience here in Congress better, but also makes policy making better. So I really admire him and think his approach is very effective. And I want to say one more thing about Don Bacon, who's not here, General Bacon. He has chosen not to run again. It's going to be a massive loss to the United States Congress not to have the voice of Don Bacon. And here's one reason why. Because whether you're Democrat or Republican, when the administration keeps taking power that belongs to Congress, regardless of whether you're Democrat or Republican, you need to stand up for the institution that we serve in. You got to speak truth to power, even if it's with your own party. And Don Bacon does that with the current administration. And we really appreciate his strong, principled voice in that regard. We're going to miss him tremendously.
I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you. So Congressman Stanton, this question's for you. You are a founding member of the former Local Elected Officials Caucus. Local governments deliver, that's our theme. As a former mayor, how do you hold on to that local perspective when you get into Washington?
We should really call it the recovering local elected officials.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I've served in your seat, and I know the work that you put in, whether you're from the biggest cities or mid-size or small. People who do local government well, you're always on 24/7, whether you're at the dais at City Hall or whether you're at the grocery store. People are looking to you for solutions for the most pressing issues in their neighborhood, in their community, the issues that they care most about, the zoning cases coming down the line, or issues in law enforcement, whatever it may be. And I'll tell you something. I was mayor of a big city, the 5th largest city in terms of population, 1.7 million people, but we only had a council of 9, 8 plus the mayor. So in the city of Phoenix case, 5 votes got it done for such a big city. And you would put together different coalitions on each issue. And I often get asked, what's different about being in Congress versus being a mayor or city council member in terms of getting things done? And the truth is, obviously we're a much bigger body, over 400 members of Congress, but the fundamentals are the same. You got to obviously passionately present the issue that you believe in should be passed, and then you got to build your coalition. Often you got to build a coalition inside your caucus, but you also have to reach across the aisle, because you can only get things done truly in a bipartisan way in this Congress. And as I was just saying, interpersonal relationships matter. So in terms of the actual policy-making process, there are really more similarities than differences between policy-making at the local level and at the federal level.
All right, that's
If I
appreciated.
could
Please.
perhaps give an accolade to my friend. He was designated by probably the National League of Cities, I can't remember who, as the most effective member of Congress on transportation issues. He and I serve on T&I, Transportation and Infrastructure, and he is certainly a leader on those issues on that committee, and it's somebody that has really worked to move forward solutions.
That's, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
I got to buy him a drink later, I guess.
I guess you do. You owe him something. So this one is for both of you. Do you have any advice for local officials in the audience who may be encountering less civility in their communities?
Ooh. Well, Greg came a little bit later than myself to Congress, and not all classes are the same. We had an extraordinary class. But kidding aside, when we came to Congress, our class actually promoted a civility pledge or resolution that all of us, I think 99% of us signed it. And it was a pledge to remind ourselves that it's okay to disagree, it's okay to be passionate in our disagreements, but agree to disagree and do it civilly. If you consider how things go awry in Washington, it's usually because people are demagoguing one another, calling each other names, and belittling one another, instead of really working to disagree in a way that's agreeable, so that when you do find areas that you could work together, people are more inclined to work with you, to move forward legislation or to problem solve. And when you don't have that, you have what everybody hates about Congress, gridlock and all this bickering. So civility is something that I think we should all strive for, to be good examples. I'm not sure that I've fulfilled that 100%, but I would say that 98% I've bit my tongue, and for the spirit of civility, to have another day to work together with my colleagues on issues that matter.
And I would just say, first off, even in most of the cities represented in this audience, there often is at least one member of the council that likes to create chaos or be a chaos agent. And if you don't know who that person is, it might be you. In Congress, everyone, when you come to Congress, one of the fundamental choices you have to make. Do you want to be someone that is there to increase your number of Twitter followers or be on TV the most and say bombastic things? You're going to get really popular, maybe even raise more money for your campaign coffers. Or do you want to be someone that more effectively gets legislation passed? You want a record of getting things done, which sometimes takes a little longer. You have to bite your tongue, as the congressman said. You have to work across the aisle, which means you behave in a certain way that allows you to be more approachable and more of a team player. Both of us have chosen to be those kinds of members of Congress. We don't see us on TV as much. We're not out there to get clicks on our social media, because it's most important that we build an effective record of getting things done for the communities that we represent. Unfortunately, in modern politics, in the old days in Congress, you came here and seniority would rise you up to the very top. It's different now with all the various media opportunities and social media opportunities and YouTube or whatever. If you want to become famous using this office, you can choose to do so. Some people mistaken being famous for effectiveness in Congress, and we have to separate those two things. And so I would say, even though the more bombastic members tend to be the most famous, the truth is the vast majority of members do work effectively together. We're here to get things done. That's on both sides of the aisle. This environment's very difficult, obviously, with the administration and the way they're behaving in terms of trying to bypass Congress as much as they can, and unfortunately the political pressure to go along with that instead of holding back. It does create tensions among the Congress members, but the good news is that the vast majorities of members on both sides of the aisle are really there to do good work, to serve our communities, and try to really get things done. And so I'm optimistic for the future, even though we're going through a really rough time, in so many ways an unsettling time right now.
I appreciate that. One of the things that was really important to our current president, Kevin Kramer, was to have us sign and participated with the Dignity and Civility Pledge. So the executive, the board of directors for National League of Cities just signed that, and we are now going to also then be encouraging each one of our cities to do the same thing. So I appreciate that you both mentioned that.
So that means city people have to be nice to county officials too?
Oh, that, yeah. That's something that we're going to go for.
We're always nice to mayors.
So we just have just a few minutes left, so I'm just going to ask you one more question. So we are all here to go to the Hill tomorrow to talk with meet with our congressman. What are any recommendations that you have on how we can work better to build relationships with our congressmen, to be able to reach them? And I know that with Congressman Stanton, I can reach out to him, I can contact him, I can contact his office, because we've built this relationship. So what are your recommendations to all the elected officials in this room to be able to do the same thing?
Well, first, know that it's meaningful when you go and meet with members of Congress. We were both in your shoes many years ago. And oftentimes I would question, is it really worthwhile going and doing these meetings? Are they even paying attention, or are they just going through the motions? I will tell you, if you're anywhere near a decent member of Congress, you and your staff put in time in every meeting. There's a memo that's produced, all the issues of concern to you. So you are getting informed and making sure you're attentive to all those issues. I will say that when you do visit your members of Congress, many of you have relationships with them, but you're not only going to visit your member of Congress, you're going to visit others. It's always important to have a cheat sheet that you leave them that summarizes your issues of concern. If not, the staffers are trying to take notes, you're trying to remember everything. So to the extent that you can leave them a very succinct summary of the issues that you are raising with him or her, that's absolutely fundamentally important.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and of course, I love meeting with the city officials that I'm lucky enough to represent. Obviously, I have such a close working relationship with you and the team at Tempe, City of Mesa, Chandler, and the City of Phoenix. When I put together what used to be called earmarks, now the community project funding, I mean, I take my orders from the cities. What your priorities are my priorities. So I'm blessed to have such a close working relationship with the cities I represent. But my message is this. Yes, you're going to have an elected official at the head of the table, whatever you're meeting. Hopefully they can attend that meeting. But your real target audience is the staff. Never underestimate the importance of those staff members, the legislative team, that they fully understand an issue that you're bringing up and that you follow up with them. Because I can't tell you, I mean, I love having those meetings and learning from you, et cetera, but I'm going to take recommendations from what my staff say I should follow up on as much as anything. So get to know the elected official, that's critically important, but equally as important, arguably even more important, is build those strong relationships with the staff members of Congress, just as you expect the community members to build good relationships with your staff and your cities to really maneuver through the system to get things done.
The moral of the story, be nice to staff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would say one thing that we can do is always trying to remember that when we go to you, it's because we're asking for you to help us with something, with funding, with something going on in our communities. And that we make sure that when that funding comes through and we have that ribbon cutting, that we are reaching back out to you to say, come and join us for the celebration of what you were able to give us to help us with our communities. So I think that's something that we can do, but yes.
And I really respect Tempe. I just had to give a shout out because included in your priorities is always support for affordable housing. And I'm honored to be able to try to get federal resources to support your commitment to helping people that need affordable housing. Not all cities do that, and I really respect that about Tempe.
Well, I feel like I need to give a plug to my city.
There you go.
So let me give you some of the big cities: Ventura, Goleta, Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, San Luis Obispo, and many other smaller cities. We are paradise on earth. Please come visit. Please spend a lot of money, especially if you're from Arizona, where it's really, really hot right now. Kind of our area.
I appreciate that, and it is hot today. So I just want to say thank you so much to our outstanding guests. We really appreciate they were here with us today, so we can just give them a round of applause. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Give applause back to you. Love our cities, yeah.
It's wonderful to hear your perspectives, and NLC is thrilled to continue to work with you and your offices to deliver what's best for our shared communities. So thank you for joining us, and make sure that you check out this episode on City Speaks in just a few weeks.
And shout out Clarence Anthony and the team there. They do a great job at NLC. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Consigliere. Thank you so much.
Please welcome to the stage NLC President and Councilmember for Louisville, Kentucky, Kramer.
Good afternoon. Our next speaker has represented the Commonwealth of Kentucky in the United States Senate since 2010. Senator Paul is chair of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, where he is a fierce advocate against government overreach. Before his election to the Senate, he completed his residency in ophthalmology. Never had that much trouble with that word. At Duke Medical School, and as a senator, has performed pro bono eye surgeries for patients across Kentucky, Guatemala, and Haiti. When we asked the senator to come speak, we had a couple suggestions and said, what would you like to talk about? He wants to talk about federalism, and we could not be more happy that that's true. Please join me in welcoming Senator Rand Paul.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, he didn't tell the whole story. They said, you want to speak to the National League of Cities? Oh, it's a great group, love to. And then he said, you get to speak about FEMA. I was like, do you have somebody that'll wake people up after the first minute or two? I said, what about this? I'll bet you I'll get a better attention and more applause if we talk about how great city governments are and how the federal government sucks. So that is the theme. So I imagine many of you had to travel a long way to be here today, and I'm glad that you invited me. As I'm sure you've noticed, you aren't the only people in Washington this week. Every spring, people come, thousands of people, to speak to their elected officials and the bureaucrats charged with regulating everything from mattress tags to nuclear reactors. Judge for yourself which one of those really needs Washington's involvement. But if you travel to this spot in 1790, about 3 years after the ratification of the Constitution, shortly after Congress selected this location for the new capital, you'd have found nothing but farms and swamps. At the time of its founding, only about 5,000 people lived here in the city. The selection of 10 square miles of sparsely populated farmland was our nation's new capital. It was selected, but it was no accident. A number of other cities, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, had already served as temporary capitals. But the founders recognized that if our new experiment in constitutional government was going to work, that we needed a capital that symbolized the freedom of our citizens, not the glory of a monarch or the conquest of an empire. James Madison, writing in Federalist number 43, noted that establishing a new independent capital was necessary to avoid providing the federal government with an imputation of awe or influence. We were not to be a monarchy. We were going to be a democracy. The creation of the city of Washington made the federal government independent of any single state, while also ensuring that it occupied a small piece of American life. That was the intention. Small federal government, larger local government. A small national capital was founded to reflect the small role our federal government was supposed to play. Washington has changed some since 1790. The actual swamp was drained, but unfortunately it was replaced with a metaphorical swamp, where special interests rule the day and the debt has become the greatest threat to our national security. Federalism, thank you. Those who didn't clap think that that's okay or what? I mean, federalism, the system that was originally designed, was intended to ensure that the leaders closest to the people, mayors, state and local representatives, governors, held the bulk of the responsibility for governing, while leaders far away in Washington focused on the few problems that were common to the entire nation. But today, you can't find a problem so localized that the federal government doesn't have a national solution to it. When you guys have already fixed a problem, it usually percolates up and then we say, well, we should fix it too. I mean, almost all the things we get to really are local, have already been fixed by the time we get up here, and it's a charade. It's self-promotion. In 2025, federal agencies issued 2,400 final regulations, which, when printed, total over 61,000 pages. 61,000 pages of regulations. And that's not on top of zero, that's on top of 60,000 pages of regulations the year before, and the year before, and the year before. Because these bureaucrats are nameless and faceless, and you can't find them at City Hall, the regulations grow like cancer. Your constituents can find you. It may not be that you're smarter than the rest of us, but you have constituents that can find you. You have public meetings. All of those things are necessary for good government. Our founders sought to prevent this sort of regulatory tyranny and overreach by dispersing power between the federal government and the states and localities as a safeguard, as a check and balance. In Federalist number 10, Madison argues that the impulse to form a group and advocate for your own interest, even if your interests are averse to the interest of others, is inherent in human nature. Sort of like the grasping for power. All men and women are seduced by power. That's why we divide up the power, so there are checks and balances. But where a faction makes up most of the population and advances interests adverse to the rights of a minority, even a constitutional republic can fall into the tyranny of a majority. The solution to this problem was to reserve most of the powers of the government to the states and localities. Rather than create a single Leviathan government that factions could fight to control, the genius of our system is that it allows the states to act as laboratories of democracy, so that even a country as large as ours can accommodate different cultures, lifestyles, and viewpoints, while also permitting national cooperation. Some of the most contentious issues of our days that probably you're split 50-50 on, you may not like this, but it's actually better that you have made local decisions on these things that are so controversial, because people tend to gravitate to areas where they're more comfortable with the law and with the culture. And I think this actually makes for a society less riven against each other when we can find a place in the country. Alabama's different than Massachusetts, but it's probably good that we allow people to live in Massachusetts and Alabama. This may sound familiar, all this talk about division of power, states and federal government. It should be, because it's the 10th Amendment, which prescribes that powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states and the people respectively. Many of the problems we face today are the result of abandoning this system that was designed by the founders. We no longer look to our local and state governments for solution. We think everything has to happen in Washington. Instead, when a problem arises, we tend to look, first and only place, we look to the federal government instead of looking locally. State and local governments, like those that you represent, are better equipped to meet the needs of the people than the federal government is. One advantage of federalism is that state and local governments can quickly adapt to changing circumstances. If a new problem arises in New York and you want to address it, they're free to do so. Their solution might be different than Alabama, may well be, but New York's responsible to its own citizens. It can tailor that policy to the unique needs of its constituents, rather than trying to piece together a policy that will work for every community across the country. If the new policy works, that's great. If it doesn't, then the city can drop the policy and try something else. Now, federalism and states' rights only protect you so much, as the people of New York may discover if they decide to have the government own the grocery stores. The best part about this system is that the citizens can escape bad policy by moving, or even policy you just don't like. They can move somewhere else. Even where a local government adopts a bad policy and refuses to get rid of it, a system that emphasizes local power is better. You can move to another city. It's even better. Because it's more local, it's easier to move to another city than it is another state or to another country. The smaller the division of government, the closer you can find a government that is tailored to your needs. If a citizen is unhappy about a state or a local law, they remain free to move somewhere else for decades. Citizens of certain states, we won't mention them, California and New York, have been showing their displeasure by voting and voting with their feet and moving elsewhere. One of the reasons local governments are more adaptable than the federal government is that local leaders are far closer to their constituents. Constituents may need to travel 8 or 9 hours to speak to their member of Congress, but they may only need to travel 8 or 9 doors down to speak to their mayor. Empowering officials closest to the people also has a positive impact on our political climate. In a national debate, it can sometimes feel like your voice is drowned out by 350 million other voices. But you can walk into any city council meeting in America and see average citizens speaking directly with their elected officials, and that's the way most government ought to be. If we return to this system of federalism as designed with strong local and state governments, I imagine you'd see citizens more informed and more engaged. I think it's when people give up, when they become violent. I've said over and over again, and this is something I part with my party on, really both parties, all this redistricting to gerrymander these districts where there's no Republicans or no Democrats is going to lead in violence, and we shouldn't do it. When people feel like they have no representation is when they are going to be violent. It is crazy for California to have no Republican Congress, but it's also crazy for Texas to have no Democrat congressman. Election leaders are far less likely to waste your money if they know they have to face you in the supermarket, at church, at their kids' Little League game. If a mayor was accused of wasting 59 cents on every tax dollar he spent or she spent, they wouldn't remain mayor for very long. Yet year after year, Congress continues to be a rubber stamp for budgets that don't balance and funding bills that few members can even read. On the issue of being good stewards of the taxpayer's dollar, the federal government has much to learn from the states and cities. In fact, the feds could learn much from my home state of Kentucky. My state ended the 2025 fiscal year with a $131 million surplus and a $4 billion rainy day fund. My city of Bowling Green balances their budget, as probably almost all of your cities do, not because you're necessarily the greatest people in the world, although you might be, but because you have to. You spend what comes in. When somebody says we got to pave roads, you say we got enough to pave 10 roads and we want to pave 20. You decide which of the 10 roads you're going to pave. It's setting priorities. The only government you have in the United States of America that sets no priorities is your federal government. If you're against some kind of spending, they think you're a terrible person, and yet all I'm asking for is that we set priorities and that the more important things we spend money on, and maybe the $1 million we spent studying Japanese quail to see if they're more sexually promiscuous on cocaine, maybe that could wait till next year. The states and cities routinely show that a balanced budget is possible when simply printing money is not an option. Cities and states are inherently more fiscally responsible because they have limitations on their borrowing. In short, cities and states don't have a Federal Reserve, and that's a good thing. Cities and states have to be disciplined. They have to make tough choices. That's why states and cities can be expected to balance their budgets, while the federal government will soon exceed $39 trillion. With that contrast, the feds have no authority to presume to tell you how to run your cities and states. You tell them, leave us the hell alone. The right to govern oneself is the essential building block of our society. And any government that purports to work on behalf of the broader community should be as close to that individual as possible. The role of the federal government is to protect the rights of the people, facilitate free exchange, and ensure the common defense. Almost everything else should be done by the cities and the states or the people. It shouldn't even be the role of the government to tell you, the people's closest representative, how to govern your communities. It's not the role of the federal government. So as you move forward and you talk about civility in politics and you talk about how we can all get along better, the smaller the federal government, the easier it is to have disagreements. There doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all on emotional social issues or emotional issues that really get us all enraged at each other. Make the decisions locally. So the decision may not be the same in California as it will be in Alabama, but guess what? We can get along more easily together the smaller the federal government is and the more power we leave at the states and localities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Paul. This year is the anniversary of the American Rescue Plan Act and the 5th and final year of the program. NLC is laser focused on helping our members navigate their responsibilities as they wrap up their reporting and compliance obligations. Since the inception of ARPA, NLC relentlessly advocated for placing the rescue dollars directly into local governments. We know what happens when you put dollars in the hands of local governments. It works. I'm pleased to share a video highlighting your accomplishments. Please watch the screens.
Has relentlessly advocated for cities, towns, and villages for more than a century. That includes the state and local fiscal recovery funds program, a lifeline during the pandemic, a lifeline that put billions of dollars into local governments. We know putting those dollars directly into the hands of cities works. Across America, cities, towns, and villages use those dollars on housing, public safety, and stabilizing local government workforces. Every dollar invested in our cities, towns, and villages created triple the economic return. Our American Rescue Plan report shows what those dollars meant to communities.
A godsend. We are a small rural community. We're not the richest community that there is, and so this money was very much welcomed.
The ARPA funds were significant to help us in the city of 56,000.
We really invested a lot in infrastructure.
ARPA funding was really so critical for us.
We used it for a greenway corridor that's a trailway that goes throughout our entire Dakota County.
We put a sites fund together in order to try to make sure that we could clean up brownfields and make them ready to attract jobs and businesses to our community. We were able to put a back to basics plan together where we actually invested in street tables and speed tables and street calming measures, really investing in housing and affordable housing throughout our areas.
We have a child care fund that we set up to help child care providers establish new child care facilities, new seats in our city to build their capacity. We invested in our mental health nonprofits in the city.
In our police department and in our water infrastructure. We also used it for a citywide cybersecurity audit.
Direct funding to us gave us the ability to take an unsafe road, completely demolish it, and put a new safe road in.
We actually were able to address some of the needs of the marginalized and disenfranchised in our community.
Having the direct funding made it so much simpler for us to be able to complete this project and help our community move forward.
The value of it is just immense, now and into the future.
5 years on, it's clear that the American Rescue Plan Act didn't just fix roads, ports, or water systems. It was an investment in our future.
The allocation of federal funding for infrastructure projects was possible because of Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which directs Congress to conduct a national census every 10 years. At its core, the census is a simple count of the people who live in our communities, but its impact is profound. The National League of Cities is proud to support this effort. Strengthening the census operations has been one of NLC's priorities this year and will remain a priority through 2030. Our next panel will take a closer look at how census data determines federal funding distribution for essential services like roads and bridges, community development, and emergency response. This afternoon, I'm joined by Joel Alvarez, the Director of the Population Division in New York City, Spartanburg, South Carolina Mayor Jerome Rice, and Springdale, Arkansas Mayor Doug Sprouse. The 2020 census faced unprecedented challenges driven by the COVID-19 pandemic, which impacted the accuracy of the count in many communities. The next few years provide communities with an opportunity to fix what didn't go well in 2020 and strengthen what did. An accurate 2030 census will impact cities, towns, and villages across the country for the next decade. This census is not political. It is one of the most fundamental acts of good governance and a cornerstone of how we invest in and understand our communities. With our panelists, let's talk through what local governments can expect in the upcoming census and how we can all prepare for it now. Mayor Sprouse, to help us set the context for why an accurate census count is so important to communities, can you share how the 2020 census went in Springdale?
Well, thank you. We believe we were significantly undercounted. We thought we were doing all the things right. We started early. We had our complete count committee. We have a very diverse community. We have in Springdale, a city of about 95,000. We're 40% Hispanic. We have the largest Marshallese population outside of the Marshall Islands, and they are not to chase a rabbit here, but after World War II, the U.S. government used did a lot of nuclear testing in and around the Marshall Islands. So there are areas that they still can't fish, and when they come to us, many times they have a much higher percentage of what we learned in COVID was comorbidities, as we call them, and high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, and so we had all kinds of festivals planned. We'd worked with our chamber, with our faith community, with our schools, and we thought we had everything lined up. And then, of course, COVID came, and that first wave of COVID, obviously, it canceled everything. And but even more than that, our Marshallese community was hit tremendously hard. I mean, we were having several funerals a week at the peak. From our Marshallese community, and it was just a very, very difficult time. They went underground, and there was no getting them back to talk about a census at all. And we had a couple of other things happen, but they happened all over the country. Certainly in 19, the talk of the possibility of a citizenship question on the census was, it didn't end up on the census, but I think the damage had already been done. I understand why we might want to know those things. I agree with that, but we need to keep things like that apart from the conversation of the census because it creates more fear and more reluctance to participate. As you said in your introduction, the census is about counting people. We're in the business to provide services for our residents. That's really the only charge we've got. That's why we have jobs. And as Senator Paul said, we don't have printing presses. We count on what we can afford, and that turnback money from both the federal and the state government is essential for us. And if you miss it on the census, then you're behind the 8 ball for 10 years. Even with updating estimates, your baseline's still undercounted. And so in Springdale's case, we believe by the time we get to 2030, it will have been tens of millions of dollars.
And that's a great lead into my next question. So can you talk a little bit about the real world problems that you guys are facing, or real world consequences, I should say, that you guys are facing in Springdale as a result of that undercount?
Sure. Our state turnback, which we use for roads and infrastructure, that's determined by population. Federal grants for many of our nonprofits who provide needed services for our residents, those are determined. So we're dealing with, while we're a very fast-growing area, it just exacerbates that issue because we're not getting fully funded for the growth we have already had, and we're always playing catch-up, and it's a tough road to hoe sometimes. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Rice. Spartanburg, South Carolina, is one of the 2 census test sites this decade. These test sites allow both federal and state local communities the time and space to prepare for 2020, 2030. Can you share what the city's doing as part of the test?
Sure. I would like to say what we're doing in Spartanburg, we understand the importance of the census and the need for an accurate population count. So when we got the call that we were one of the test sites, immediately we got together with our team, internal team, mobilized an internal team led by our deputy city manager, along with neighborhood services, our communications department, as well as our planning department, to have a strategy within the city. And then from there, our key component was to go to outreach into the community, and also bring in your faith-based community, your school district, your colleges, your universities, United Way, and the list goes on from your nonprofit sectors. And we made soft introductions to those folks with the field team that's coming forward to count the census. But we all understand truly how important it is and the resources that it will provide. Also, in determining the outcome there is that the city works with the field team to support the recruitment of the local testers as well. So we have opportunities for folks to go out and that know the community, and will make it available to where we can test and use these new tools that are readily available that can help us for 2030. And again, we all know the importance of an accurate count. That's the key, an accurate count, that we can get as many possible.
Certainly. So, Director Alvarez, something that's quickly coming up for the census is the local update of census addresses. LUCA is the name of the program, which is the only direct way that cities, towns, and villages can impact their census count. Can you share why LUCA is so important to New York City and how the city is starting to prepare?
Yes, thank you. LUCA, it's a nice acronym that sounds good, is your chance to tell the Census Bureau what's wrong or missing from the list of addresses that they intend to contact for the 2030 census. So quite simply, if you're not on the Census Bureau's address list, you're probably not going to get counted, and we can run into issues that we've seen before. So before the 2020 census, New York City participated in LUCA and updated the census address list with tens of thousands of missing housing units. And that helped ensure that we received a complete census count. That's why this operation, LUCA, is so important, because the stakes are very high, as we all know, when it comes to the census. And that's why we've already started preparing for the 2030 LUCA operation. Right now, we're building our own independent address list, looking at things that are readily available across the country, like property tax records, addresses from utility companies, and Department of Motor Vehicle data. And we're conducting targeted field work as well to tell us what reality looks like on the ground. And all of this information will give us an independent address list, which we can use to update the Census Bureau's address list.
Great, thank you. I know that NLC is hosting a webinar on LUCA in just a few weeks, but for those that want a sneak peek, can you share what's at stake if a community doesn't participate in LUCA at all? Does the Census Bureau just use its own data and move on?
Yes, the stakes are very high. Back in 1990, before the establishment of this LUCA operation, there was a well-documented census undercount all across the country. And the Census Bureau's own retrospective assessment was that New York City was undercounted by 250,000 people. But in the lead up to the subsequent 2000 census, New York City participated in the newly established LUCA program, submitting thousands of addresses. And consequently, New York City's 2000 census yielded no discernible undercount. So, LUCA really works. It's incredibly effective at combating undercounts. And needless to say, we've participated in every LUCA since that successful 2000 update. And really, every community across the country can benefit from LUCA. Yes, in New York City, we have some complicated housing arrangements, but we also have simple, straightforward housing like residential towers and low-density housing subdivisions. And even there, we've found addresses that were missing from the Census Bureau's contact list. So quite simply, many missing units can be hiding in plain sight. So no matter how simple you believe your housing arrangements are, it's well worth the time to check if the Census Bureau has it right and participate in LUCA. And yes, if cities don't participate in LUCA, then the Census Bureau simply proceeds without that local input.
Great. So if you could get everyone in this room one action item to take home from this panel today, what would it be? I'm going to throw it up to the three of you.
I'll start. Besides not have a pandemic.
Besides not having a pandemic.
I'm going to start earlier. I'm going to begin. I think we and our council and our leaders in our city, our chamber, we need to get everybody engaged in education about what the census is truly for and what it's not for, and try and mitigate those fears that are out there across our population. From every stripe and ideology, there are issues and concerns about the census, and there's no need for them to be, and we need to get that education out there and do a better job with it.
Yeah. Okay. Also, in this room, and I don't have to tell this room, but it's all about funding. The distribution to communities for services such as schools, healthcare, housing, transportation comes with the census. Determine our representation in Congress and the U.S. House of Representatives. Provide government the data for infrastructure, public safety, and community programs. And then in the end, it helps the communities receive a fair share of resources and the representation through all the accurate counts. One thing we like to say in Spartanburg and with our staff, we want to over-communicate. Over-communicate. That's why I said we started back in 2025 as to getting the teams together, having an outreach program, but we want to over-communicate the importance of the census and how it is to not just the city of Spartanburg, the state of South Carolina, but into the entire USA.
And for me, I would suggest that everyone here register when you receive the LUCA invitation. It goes to the high elected officials in cities and towns all across the country. It's free, and it gives you the option of supporting a complete count in your community.
Well, great. Thank you guys for your leadership. We really appreciate it, and for the work that you're doing to ensure that every community is accurately seen and will be continued to counted in 2030. So thank you again. I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As we wind down our time here together, I'm excited about what's up next. If you found the Congressional City Conference impactful, then don't miss our next convening in Nashville, Tennessee. And to give us a sense of what we can expect during the conference this November, I want to invite Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Garland, and can I get a quick hand for Clarence and our incredible National League of Cities leadership? Well, great to be here, and as the 10th Mayor of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, and the first Nashville Mayor with an apostrophe in my surname, which is, great. I'm a little more subtle with the St. Patrick's Day festivities today, but happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. And I'll tell you, we are thrilled to host the 2026 City Summit in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope to see a lot of you there. And I'll give you fair warning, when we welcome you in November, there's a good chance your lunch will include the hottest chicken you've ever tasted. So, show of hands, who thinks they can handle the heat? Okay, careful about ordering above mild. You know us all for being Music City, USA, and yes, the hot chicken too, but I do want to share with you, even talking backstage, Nashville is so much more than that. We're a city of vibrant neighborhoods, legendary hospitality. We have a strong economy. We're modernizing our infrastructure, making it easier to get around the city through a transit improvement program called Choose How You Move. We're aggressively tackling housing affordability to ensure that our city works for everyone. And we're delivering a quality of life that draws people from all over the world to Nashville. We can't wait to share all of that with you. I'll say my first city summit was when we hosted it in Nashville in 2015. I've gotten so much out of it ever since then, working with NLC, especially the connections we make, the bipartisan exchange of ideas like this morning, this afternoon, that push all of our cities forward. None of us govern alone. Partnership across all levels of government is how we deliver for our people, and let's make the next 8 months our most productive yet. I look forward to hearing your stories of progress when you land in Nashville for City Summit 2026. Now, before I hand things over to Clarence Anthony, I have some very important business to take care of. I know there was a lot of interest at our booth. Who's interested in taking home a piece of Music City? We had a guitar. I think a few of you were participants in this. We ran a little social media contest, and I get to announce the winner of an awesome Epiphone acoustic guitar signed by Dierks Bentley, Russell Dickerson, Nico Moon, and Grace Bowers. The artist signed the guitar at Nashville's Let Freedom Sing Music City July 4th event last year. And the winner is, anybody ready for a drum roll? Help me on the tables. Councilmember Dr. Catherine Rawl of South Fulton, Georgia. You are taking home a little piece of Nashville. So let's hear it for our winner. Well, to the National League of Cities, let me just say thank you for choosing Nashville. To everyone in this room, thank you for the incredible work you do for your own communities. Get ready, Nashville is setting the stage, and I can't wait to show you around our city. Take a look at a little bit of what's to come.
And now, let's welcome to the stage Clarence Anthony and your NLC officers.
Go now. Okay.
Yeah!
Oh,
hey,
man.
Here we go.
I actually love that video. Y'all ready to go to Nashville?
Yes!
Man,
Woo!
I could not. I asked them, I said, you can't get that groove and keep it going. And they said, nope. Your conference is about over. It's time for you to leave and all that good stuff. So they cut us out on the music. But I'm so honored to have the mayor here with us on the stage because the conference registration is open right now. So please go ahead and register. And as well, do me a favor, get your hotel room, because I ain't receiving no calls from any of you that's saying I can't get a hotel room. I know, not at this late. And then, of course, you met our second VP, Mayor Pro Tem.
The Green Queen.
The Green Queen.
And to show you how much love there is amongst all of us and our officers, our past president, James Mitchell from Charlotte, North Carolina. Of course, our past President, Mayor Vince Williams from Union City. Our past President, David Sander from Rancho Cordova, California. And our immediate past, Steve Williams from...
Steve Patterson.
Steve Patterson, I'm sorry.
Steve Patterson.
Steve Patterson. He's a past president from Athens, Ohio. And of course, our president now is Kevin Kramer from Louisville, Kentucky. We all came out because one of the things about the National League of Cities, it really does bring all of us together. You don't know standing up here who's a Democrat, who's a Republican, who's an independent, because there's one thing we have in common is that we stand up for cities and we fight for cities, towns, and villages every day. And we want to together say to you, don't miss out on Nashville, Tennessee. They got so many great things that you don't see on a hype video, but when you go there, you'll see some of the same issues that you are dealing with in your community, and they are dealing with them very, very effectively. So I look forward to having seen all of you all, and please bring other colleagues from your city, because what happens if you come back from the conference all pumped up and excited, then they'll ask you where you've been, but they won't understand why. You always need somebody there to be on your amen corner when you say something. Amen. 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 All right. So what's happening tomorrow is that we are going on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're going there to tell our congressional members, our senators, that local governments do what?
Deliver.
I thought y'all didn't get it. Local governments do what?
Deliver.
All right, got my hype guys here, and this is going good. But I do want you guys to go up there tomorrow and talk about housing. I want you to talk about infrastructure. I want you to talk about rail safety, water quality issues, and all the environmental issues that you're facing. I want you to talk about public safety. I want you to talk about local governments are the closest to the folks, but we also truly do deliver. And the Representative Paul just summed it up so effectively. So
tell them to talk about civility.
And we'll be able to also share about how we work together, how dignity is important to us, how respect is important to us, and most of all, how civility helps us to get the work done that we are doing. So, we need to tell the stories. I am so proud of all of you. Let's make every member of Congress, as well as staff and the administration, understand just how important federal priorities are, and that you impact and make an impact in your communities. So, I gotta tell you, that's all I got. Y'all ready to go to the Hill tomorrow?
To the Hill!
Y'all ready to go to the Hill? And I want to make sure that we got one more session, 3:30 today, that you can get more training and development and education. We also, and that's on M4, and we also have a press conference scheduled tomorrow. We don't? We cancel it? Oh, we got a photo op at 1 o'clock. You cancel the press conference? You tired of us talking? Okay, anyway, we got a 1 o'clock photo op of everybody that is there. So thank you all very much. And tonight at 8 p.m., we'll have, right here in this room, we'll have our evening reception. So don't miss out on that. Thank you all very much. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Don't get on any trouble. It's too cold outside. Stay inside with us. And we're going to have a great time celebrating America's 250 as well.
New edition may be there
New edition?
Maybe.
Oh, man, really?
Maybe.
What are those? Oh, maybe. I'm about to say something. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good. Hey, Mayor Lyles, how you doing? Thank you all.